After understanding the various design considerations which are forming the important part in the designs, let us move ahead to the next part, which is the assumptions in the limit state design. We need to understand what has been assumed so as to go ahead with the design principles, the derivations, and then finally the design. So what are the assumptions we start with? What do we assume that the things are realistic as far as the design of in limit state method is concerned? The first clause, now these are all the clauses from the Indian Standard Code IS 456 2000. Now the first clause states that the plane sections normal to the axis remain plane after bending. Let me tell you the actual statement of this, as we have understood in materials and structures earlier, is plane sections which remain normal or which remain plane before bending remain plane after bending also. That is, the plane sections which are normal perpendicular to the axis, of the beam, the plane sections which are plane before bending remain plane after bending also. So you see the axis over here, you see the beam over here, the plane sections before bending, and they remain plane after bending also. So let me mention the truth behind this, why we have assumed that the things are this way. See, for large sections, it may not be possible that the plane sections which are normal to the axis will remain plane even after bending. But whenever we are designing the members, the width of the member, the width of the cross section is so small as compared to the length. Say the width is some 200 mm or 250 mm, but the length goes on as 2 meters or 3 meters, 4 meters. So it is like that. In order to convert into mm, the width is 200 mm, but whereas the length is somewhere around 2000 mm or 4000 mm. So the width is very small as compared to the length. So as we look at this particular beam wherein the width is very small as compared to the length, it is a slender member, and for slender members the assumption that plane sections before bending remain plane after bending also can be accepted. So a beam, the plane sections before bending remain plane after bending also. It also means that the strain relationship is linear throughout the depth. Now this is possible, as I have explained earlier, for slender members. So whenever we have slender members, this assumption is possible. So whenever we are designing, let us understand that our members are very slender, and if the members go on changing their shape after, so there would be a minor change, a small change, not a very significant change in the derivations. So we can take this assumption, plane sections normal to the axis which are plane before bending remain plane after bending also. They don't get twisted, they don't change their shape. So the stress strain is a linear relationship. We see it over here in the strain diagram. Cross section is here. The stress strain relationship is a straight line. That is possible for, that is true for most of the slender members. Coming to the next assumption, the maximum strain in concrete at the outermost compression fiber is taken as 0.0035 in bending. The outermost strain, outermost fiber in compression. So let me just go to the previous slide again. When I see the previous slide, that's the cross section. When I'm looking at the cross section, the outermost fiber is here. This is a simply supported beam. If I consider it to be a simply supported beam, because the bending is like this, I know that on top there is compression. So the strain over here in the outermost fiber is given to be maximum strain as 0.0035 in bending. Now why this has been assumed? If it is the reality, why assumed? So let me tell you what exactly is the reality. As per the experiments, it has been found that the strain varies, the maximum strain varies in between 0.003 to 0.005. 0.003 to 005. The Indian standard codes take the value of 0.0035 as the maximum strain in bending in the outermost compression fiber in bending, that has been given as 0.0035. So even when we find that the strain is within this range, assuming this is not deviating far enough, because we are very close to the smaller limit, the lower limit over here. So this maximum strain in concrete in the outermost fiber, please remember this we are going to use in the derivation. The maximum strain in concrete at the outermost compression fiber is 0.0035 in bending. So these are the assumptions for flexure or bending. Let us look at the next assumption. The next assumption is very important, the relationship between the compressive stress distribution in concrete and the strain in concrete. Look at this, that's the one. May be assumed to be rectangle, trapezoid, parabola or any other shape in which results in prediction of strength in the substantial agreement with the results of the test. Let me just come back to the previous one. If you observe this, the stress strain diagram, the strain goes on increasing. The maximum strain is told to be 0.0035, where we get the maximum stress, that is FCK, maximum stress FCK. So that's the curve. At 0 it is 0, and as the strain goes on increasing, it becomes a nice curve. It is a straight line earlier and then it becomes a curve and it goes like this. Now what is this? When I look at it in the actual section, the cross section, the neutral axis is here, maximum strain is here, so I can draw it this way. So it has been drawn this way. The same graph has been turned and drawn this way. So it is 0 over here at the neutral axis and it goes on increasing. Now what is this shape? To calculate this in our derivations, it becomes very difficult. Mathematically it's a big problem. So that's why the code gives this as an assumption. The relationship between the compressive stress distribution in concrete and the strain in concrete, that is stress strain diagram in concrete, may be assumed to be a rectangle. Look at this, this is not a rectangle, but it says that it can be assumed to be a rectangle, or a trapezoid. Trapezoid could be believed to be something like this. This line is parallel to this line and then this line can come over here, could be a trapezoid, or a parabola. This can be linked to the closest shape is parabola, or any other shape. We can actually take the graph of this, any other shape which results in the prediction of strength and is in substantial agreement with the results of the tests. An acceptable stress strain curve is given. What is acceptable to IS, the Indian standard, is given over here. This has been taken from as figure 22 stress block parameters from the IS code. For design purposes, the compressive strength of concrete in the structure shall be assumed to be 0.67 times the characteristic strength. Now what is the characteristic strength? Characteristic strength is the cube strength, the cube which is cured for 28 days and we have tested it, but when we have tested, not more than 5% of the values have fallen below the prescribed limit. So that is the characteristic strength. So characteristic strength is FCK, but when we are designing, the code says for design purposes, the compressive strength of concrete would be assumed to be 0.67 times the characteristic strength. Characteristic strength is the cube strength from which 5% have not fallen over below, not more than 5% have fallen over below the prescribed limit. Now from there, for design purposes, the strength is given to be 0.67 times that. And then it goes further to say that the partial safety factor for materials, that is 1.5, shall be applied in addition to this. So in addition to 0.67 times FCK, another partial safety factor of 1.5 will be applied to this. So when 1.5 is applied, 0.67 divided by 1.5 would be coming to somewhere around 0.446 FCK. Note, for the stress strain curve in the figure, the design stress block parameters are as follows. The area of this block, this area of this has been calculated and it has been given to us as 0.36 FCK XA. depth of the center of the compression force, the total compressive force from here, this distance from the compression fiber is given to be 0.46 XU, where XU is the depth of the neutral axis, whether we call it as XA, that the actual neutral axis, or XU, one and the same thing. So depth of the neutral axis has been defined over here as 0.42 XU. The area of the block has been defined over here as 0.36 FCK into XU. So that has been given over here. So let us just understand the meaning of this. What exactly is meant by this? Why we have got this? From where the IS code has got this figure of 0.67 FCK. If you observe the previous one, FCK, that's the one, that's the curve, how the stress strain diagram goes, and the concrete cube fails over here. But the code says for design purposes we are not going to use this curve. For design purposes we are going to use this in between curve, and to this we are going to apply a factor of safety of 1.5. so finally when we are designing with the factor of safety, we are using this bottom curve, that is 0.67 FCK divided by gamma m. So that is what has been mentioned over here. So going through the explanation of this, coming to the explanation of this, a scientist, Hornstedt, has observed that it has been seen that in the compression zone at failure, the strength of the concrete is about 0.85 times the cylinder strength. Whenever we take cylinders and we test, whatever strength we get, as compared to that, in compression, whenever we are having RCC members, in compression, the strength was observed to be 0.85 times the strength of the cylinder. Now the cylinder strength is approximately 0.8 times the cube strength. The cylinder strength is whenever we don't make the cube, but we make cylinders and we test them. When we take the cores, they are taken as cylinders and we test them. The cylinder strength, because of its shape, is found to be 0.8 times the cube strength. And it has been found that the strength in compression is 0.85 times the cylinder strength. So 0.85 multiplied by 0.8, therefore for design purposes the compressive strength becomes equal to 0.85 into 0.8 FCK, which is approximately 0.67 FCK, 0.67 or 0.68 FCK, it comes to that. So from there the Indian Standard Code has taken the value of 0.67 times the characteristic cube strength, because FCK is the characteristic cube strength. Please remember, the cylinder when we are testing, its strength is 0.8 times the cube strength, and that area in compression, its strength is 0.85 times the cylinder strength. So the strength for design purposes is 0.85 into 0.8 FCK, which is coming to 0.67 FCK. Thus the IS code prescribes the value of the characteristic strength of concrete for design purposes as 0.67 FCK. To this, a partial safety factor gamma m equal to 1.5 is applied for concrete, and that's why we get 0.67 FCK divided by 1.5 as 0.446 or 0.45 FCK. As per the IS code, whenever we have more than 2 digits after the decimal place, we can round off the next one. So we can write it as 0.446 FCK or 0.45 FCK. So that's why whenever we are designing, the stress, maximum stress in concrete in compression will be taken as 0.446 FCK or 0.45 FCK. Now the further parts in this limit state of collapse assumptions are the tensile strength of concrete is ignored. We all know that the tensile strength of concrete is very less. It is about 1/10 of the compressive strength. So even below the neutral axis, where there is some tension appearing over there, the concrete is capable of resisting this tension. But when we are doing the calculations, it is neglected. So that means we are taking a lower capacity of the beam. It is always safer, it is always better. The capacity of the beam is higher, but we assume it lower, so we are providing that much more safety. Though let me mention that it is very small. The tensile strength, that is 10%, when we consider at that level, it is very less, very small number. The next one is very important for us. the stresses in the reinforcement are derived from the representative stress strain curve, this one. This is a representative stress strain curve. We all know how the stress strain curves were when we have discussed in the previous lectures. Now there is a standard curve made over here. So on the standard curve at Fy it fails. All the values have been shown over here, how the values are appearing on the curve. So now for design purposes, the partial safety factor gamma m applied is 1.15. So for steel, though this is the actual curve, starts from 0, it goes on further like this. To this, a partial safety factor of 1.15 or 0.87 Fy is applied, and that's how we arrive at this curve. So for all our purposes, we are going to use the bottom curve, not the top one. Top one is the actual one, the actual yielding curve, but when we are designing, after we apply the partial safety factor, we are going to use the second or the bottom curve over here. Now the maximum strain in tension reinforcement at failure shall not be less than this value what has been given over here, that is Fy upon 1.15 ES, or it means 0.87 Fy upon ES plus 0.002. This I have already explained why 0.002, because we are using the proof stress. So that is going to be the value we are going to take for the maximum strain in tension whenever we are doing our calculations, whenever we are doing our derivations. The maximum strain in tension shall be taken as Fy upon 1.15 ES, which means it is 0.87 Fy upon ES, that's the strain, plus 0.002, which only means that at 0.002 over here, when I look at this, please note, this only means that at 0.002, when I come here and I look at it this way, the stress level over here is 0.87 Fy, and whenever we go further, it is going to be that much more whatever we are going to take. So Fy divided by 1.15 ES plus 0.002. So we have understood the various assumptions which have been given in the limit state of collapse. Now understanding the assumptions is very important, because now we know what are the basics based on which we are going ahead. So having got this, we will be going ahead in understanding what types of failures could be there in a beam, and then we will embark on the journey of the design. So we will be doing the derivation after that.